Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and my guest today is such a talented player, composer. And he's also actually one of the most requested players I've had people asking me to interview. And he is the guy who created literally my all-time favorite soundtrack. We're with the one and only Lyle Workman. He is this is like a very, very, very abbreviated biography. He's a guitarist, composer, session, and touring musician, as well as a music producer. His film and TV work includes scoring smash hit movies such as The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Superbad, which if you have not heard that soundtrack, please stop what you're doing, turn off your cell phone, and just go buy it now. And also he's done Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He currently is composing for the HBO series Crashing. As a sideman and touring guitarist, he's recorded and played with Sting, Beck, Todd Rundgren, Michael Bublé, Sarah McLachlan, Jellyfish, Frank Black, and loads of other people. He's also released 3 instrumental guitar albums, and he's currently on his 4th, and we're going to talk about one of them. It's literally the best instrumental record I have ever heard, hands down. There is so much shit going on in there musically that works. It was mind-boggling listening to it. Lyle, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Greg, thank you so much for having me and for that amazing intro.
Yeah, man, it's true. I wish I had more stuff to say because I want to know more, Lyle.
We will find out today.
Good.
Let's talk the mystery.
Let's go, man. What was your first professional gig, and like what happened chronologically after that? To maybe you could take me to the more important, career touch points.
All right. So when you say your first professional, would that mean the first time I got paid, or? Because there's little baby steps,
Yeah.
There's garage bands. There's playing at someone's birthday party, and then there's club dates.
Yeah, the birthday party. No, I'm just kidding. No, you tell me. You the first gig where you said, "Holy shit, I'm like I got a real gig now."
I would probably be with the band I was with in the 80s, in the late 80s. I was in a band called Bourgeois Tag, and we were a popular local band in the the Bay Area, in Northern California. We were playing out a lot, gigging a lot, and making a living playing music. And we got signed to Island Records and did two records with them. So that whole period, I would say, would be the most substantial first feeling of being a professional musician.
Very cool. How did this was in the days where people didn't have to write, so you didn't have to worry about spelling bourgeois.
You just be able to say it.
I'm looking for these guys on Google. Google, how do you spell bourgeois? Okay.
This is way before Google.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What is that where you're from, the Bay Area?
Yeah, I'm from San Jose.
Okay. So there's tons of guys come up from there.
Yeah, there's some good musicians that have come from that area. Yeah.
Charlie Hunter, did you know Charlie?
Oh yeah, Charlie. Yeah, he's a pal. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I used to go see him play. I only recently met him over the last couple of years. But I used to see him play a lot. Stanley Jordan. I used to see him play. Chris Kane. Do you know this guitar player, Chris Kane?
I know that name. Where
blues player.
What was he in?
He's fantastic. He just plays he's got his own band, Chris Kane band. But I used to go see him play a lot, and he just completely blew my mind. Local guy, There's another great guitar player, John Wiedemeyer, who lives in Las Vegas now. Let's see this. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of them, but
Adam Levy. Did you know him?
I don't think I met him until recently, but yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so many guys from that area I've interviewed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bourgeois Tag, late '80s. You released a couple of albums on Island, which was a pretty big label back then. I mean, it wasn't like Atlantic, but they had some great people on there. Didn't they have like U2? I think was on there back then.
That's right. Yeah. Bob Marley.
And what happened after that? How did that? Did you move? Did the band fizzle, or did you just?
Well, what was happening is our last record, the Bourgeois Tag, the second record we did, was produced by Todd Rundgren.
Oh wow!
And Todd asked Bourgeois Tag essentially to be his backing band, along with some other people for a record. And during that record, our band dissolved, broke up, and three of us went to play in Todd's band and did a record and a tour. That was a record called Nearly Human. And so we went, basically, a few of us went from Bourgeois Tag to Todd Rundgren and did that for a few years.
When that happened, like back then, was a normal thing? Like you're going to hang with Todd? It wasn't any concern ever of like, what do you do next back then?
Well, I certainly had a lot of pockets of that throughout my career.
Yeah.
One gig would finish and you'd find yourself with nothing going on, or no paid work, let's say. So, we went basically right from that band I went from that band to Todd, which was an incredible experience for me because I've been a huge Todd fan for many years prior. And his music is just so beautifully sophisticated and complex, and just, just a great pleasure to play with a hero,
Did you learn a lot about writing from him?
You learn a lot from playing someone's music, because you have to learn, obviously, and you're learning chord voicings you've never played before. You're hearing chord progressions that are unique and distinctive. There's a complexity in his music that, if you spend your time learning and listening to music and you like complex music, it starts to become part of you. Yeah. And you start to use those sorts of mechanisms for your own music. If all you listen to is punk rock music, then your music is going to sound like punk rock music. You've got to. So it was like a kind of the school of Todd.
Yeah. Was he
everything else as well as everything else I was into at the time?
Was he recording out there, or was he in Bearsville?
Yeah. No, we recorded in San Francisco.
Yeah. And how did that? Was it like big stadium tours, or?
They were big venues. Medium size. It was places like the Wiltern and Warfield in San Francisco. I don't know the capacities. I'm kind of bad with capacities. Maybe 5,000 seaters.
Yeah,
maybe?
that's good size. Yeah, real good size for sure. Yeah. How long did that last?
Well, it was 2 years for me. I did one record. I did two records, but I didn't tour the second record. Although the bass player Larry Tagg from Bourgeois Tagg, he did continue with Todd for quite a bit afterwards. It was time for me to start working on my own music. I'd done the second record, it was called Second Wind with Todd, and it was time to tour it. And I recently married and moved to Marin County and bought this, recording gear. And I just was so hell-bent on just exploring my own music. And I opted to stay home and do that instead of go tour, which is kind of an amazing thing when I reflect on it, because I didn't have any gigs. My wife was teaching at the time, so we're just living off her meager salary. and she was believed in me enough to not to say, no, you're not going to turn down this, weekly salary so you can play in the bedroom with your tape recorder.
Yeah.
But she let me do that. And that yielded my first solo record, which is called Purple Passages. But it was kind of the start of me really getting into writing and composing.
You still with the same wife?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So how long you been together?
We got married in 1989.
Wow. So that's like 30.
Well, we were together for 2 or 3 years before that. So
30 something years.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Very cool, man. Good for you.
Yeah. She's a good woman. Great person.
It's so important. I think, like, I've done a lot of things and my wife has supported them. And, like, honestly, some of them, like, I don't know why she supported them, Mm-hmm. So I know when you have that, it's like a real, it's a big help.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
It's a real big help. Okay. So you made Purple Passages. Did you tour did you have a band on that, or did you do all the?
I never toured it or played it out live. It's very complex, and I really didn't have the means to rehearse people. I didn't have the money to put a band together because the music is so complicated. It would take, Frank Zappa level rehearsals to perform it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and I just didn't have it. So, I've never toured any of my records, really. I've just put them out, just worked on them when I had the time in between jobs. So, I don't want to say it's a hobby because it's really important to me, but it's not how I make a I've made my living being a sideman, essentially, or following someone else's direction as to what they want for their music. That's primarily how I've made my living.
So after Purple Passages, what did you do then? Like, what was the next sort of serendipity that crossed your path that said, okay, now I got to go here on this adventure?
Let me think about that. Well, I think that probably the next big one would be this record I did with this band called Jellyfish. Huh. They had 2 records. This was the second record, and I was involved in that. And that involved coming down to LA and just that whole scene, which was pretty fun. I had Bourgeois Tag did our first record in LA, so I'd been here. I live in Glendale, right next to Burbank, now for 22 years. But my first stay in Los Angeles was for that Bourgeois Tags, the first record, and that was 85 or 6 or something.
Sure.
On that time. So back to LA for the Jellyfish record, and it was just a great record. I don't know if you're familiar with that band?
I know the band. I'm not going to lie and say I'm intimate with their music. No, man.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's they did 2 records, but people still talk about them. They were really amazing.
Well, you were a sideman. You were a studio. You worked with them on the studio. Did you tour with the record as well?
It's hard to play guitar. Myself and John Bryan, who's a living legend, amazing multi-instrumentalist and film composer. So he and I shared the guitar duties. Very
cool. And what opportunities came from that after you did that?
Well, I was still living in the Bay Area. It's just word of mouth. People start talking about you. People start hearing what you do on records. I did a tour with this artist named Jude Cole. And this is right around that time in the early 90s. And, it's just you start to network and meet people, and people were familiar with Bourgeois Tag a little bit, and, Todd Rundgren. So, words start getting out. Next thing you know, you're doing sessions. And I moved to LA 22 years ago to pursue more of that. After the Jellyfish record, I was playing with Frank Black, who was from the Pixies, the creative brains behind that band. And that was about 5 years of touring and recording.
Oh, so you were with them a long time.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. And during the last year or two, I moved to LA because basically all my income was coming from being in his band, touring and recording. And I just knew that it was the place for me to be because it's where you go. It's where all the, you got to be where, if you want to surf the perfect wave, you better be at the beach. And
yeah, totally, man.
I just needed to be here. And I had some other friends that moved down here and do well. And it just wasn't enough going on for me in the Bay Area.
Now, the Pixies music is totally different than like what your solo stuff is, for sure.
Well, I think that's the kind of the curiosity about is that it's like I almost want to, when people want to interview me or podcast, I always ask, well, which Lyle Workman are you familiar with? Because some of it doesn't make any sense. The music is so varied. I've just always loved all kinds of music, trashy, punky stuff I think is amazing. But I also like classical music and jazz and progressive rock. And I've just spent a lot of time listening and learning, to where I could sort of go in different areas and make, and do my thing.
I've noticed virtually all of the better players have their taste is like this. It's not, like where I grew up and I had a circle and it got wider, but really it didn't jump to a complete other circle for the most part. Musicians did, like I had Page Hamilton. Do you know him from Helmet?
Yeah, sure.
And I love Helmet. I have like their whole record collection, and
he's a jazzer.
Yeah, big jazzer and classical. He spent all the time talking about, when I die, the Beethoven's second movement, Seventh Symphony. That's what they're going to play. And I was like, holy shit! Where's the leap from that to Helmet, which is like not what they call hardcore today, but back in the day would have been called like hardcore,
Yeah.
And I find that it's just amazing, for musicians, their circles did get very wide and they did go down deep in each of them.
Yeah.
And it allows you to be a better player.
It's how you deepen the well. You deepen the well by listening and learning and it's really worked for me.
That's great.
All different avenues, to do that.
Let's talk about a few specific artists that you did work with, and if you could tell me how you got the gig, and maybe a cool or interesting story about working with them. Sting, start with him.
Word of mouth. I moved down to LA and in '98 and started to do sessions. And one session, it was with Josh Freese, a great session touring drummer, and he got the job with Sting, and then they needed an extra guitar player. Sting had been working, had Dominic Miller, his longtime guitarist, who's still playing with him now, and they wanted to do a two guitar thing, 2 guitar, bass, and drums. And Josh, he was championed me, and that was it. I got in, and we ended up doing a record and a tour and a couple spot dates. It's been a while since I played with Sting, but that was really monumental for me because I was a huge Police fan, a Sting fan.
Massive stadiums, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty. Especially in Europe, it was pretty huge. And it was a free show in Warsaw. In Poland, and it was something like 450,000 people.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
What did you sound? How do you like?
Well, after 40,000, you can't tell any difference. Yeah. It's just people as far as you can see.
Wow. Any funny rock stories from? It's got to have something.
Oddly enough, I really don't. I don't have any. After we finish this, I'll think of something, I'm sure. But yeah, no.
How about Beck?
Yeah, so that was another word of mouth thing. I was hired to play on a record. It was Mel C from the Spice Girls. Rick Rubin was producing, and in the band, for the record recording was Roger Manning, who was a keyboard player in Jellyfish. So, and then also Justin Meldau Johnson, who was in Beck's band. Actually, Roger and Justin both in Beck's band. And we did this record with a drummer named Victor Indrizzo, who I just met. So I knew Roger. I'd met Justin there. I met Victor there. And shortly after that, both Victor and I were asked to audition for Beck. And we auditioned together and got the gig. And that was about 2+ years of touring.
Did you do the album with him as well?
No, we were touring a record called Midnight Vultures.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of recording with him, but that didn't appear on any of his proper records. But yeah, so that's just another word of mouth story.
Do you know a guy named Smokey Hormel?
Oh yeah,
Smokey.
Yeah, so I did the tour. I did the tour that Smokey couldn't do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's great, man.
Yeah.
I love Smokey. He's really
he's had more stories than anybody I've interviewed out of 350 people.
Oh man, yeah.
It's just
yeah. Do you have stories about Johnny Cash and some of that stuff?
Yeah, he had stories about everything. I mean, his whole life he grew up was kind of eccentric, and he'd have all these like I can't think of the top of my head, like famous Latin flamenco players hanging out at his house as a kid.
Wow.
And like Peter Fonda or someone like that turned him on to the blues, like when he was like 5 or something like that. Yeah. Some major celebrity like that, he was like an encyclopedia, a lexicon of, short stories of interesting guy.
Yeah, I love his playing too, man.
Oh,
we did one show with Beck together, and during the rehearsals beforehand, I was listening to what he was doing. I was really loving his tone, his feel, and he was a little bit subdued, maybe because it was a rehearsal. But I remember when we did the show, there was one solo that he took this one solo, and I was like, oh my God. He just stepped up a couple feet towards the edge of the stage and just played the most beautiful solo, I heard, so I'm a huge fan of his playing. Very
melodic player, man.
Yeah.
Now he's playing, he lives in Brooklyn. He's got a couple of a bunch of projects. One of them is like a Brazilian cowboy surf music sort of, he's like on the fringes,
Sure.
Sarah McLachlan. How'd you get that gig, and any cool stories?
I don't know how I got that. I just got called from the production coordinator, asked if I was available, and I said yes. That was with the producer Bob Rock.
Oh wow!
On a couple things, we did Sarah McLachlan. We did a couple Michael Bublé records that he produced. We did some recording in Vancouver for Bryan Adams. I was through, and I still don't know how I got that connection to Bob, but I love working with him. He's just a great guy and such a great producer. And from Bryan Adams to Bublé, Sarah McLachlan, it's all different. And it's just a pleasure every time I get a call.
Any cool stories about when you worked with Sarah?
We bonded over our love of Peter Gabriel.
Oh, that's cool.
It was in between takes, and I might have quoted a good Peter Gabriel song. And she was like, oh, my gosh. And so she started playing some stuff, and, we were singing the songs. But, yeah, she was lovely.
What a voice she has, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Just a beautiful voice, man.
Yeah, she was really super cool.
Tell me top 3 sessions that you've done and why you liked them so much. Why you liked them so much.
Okay, let me think about it. Top 3. Oh, man, that's tough. I would say Jellyfish, the record's called Spilt Milk. Just the content of the music is so great. So it's just being a part of a beautiful wheel, being a cog in a beautiful wheel. I just loved the music. I was a huge fan. I pursued them. Like, if you ever need a guitar player, let me know, because they were Bay Area based. So that's one. Let's see. I'm trying to think in order. Frank Black, Teenager of the Year, was the first record I was involved in with him, and he's just an incredible, very unique songwriter, singer, lyricist, music maker. I just loved every minute playing and playing his music.
Unique in what way?
Well, he the Pixies, I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's it's just a sound that they made. It was a very distinctive sound. They kind of created their own sound, and his music has this complexity that doesn't come from schooling. It's just he just hears things a different way. He would, like, for example, in diatonic music, which a lot of music is diatonic. If you go to C, then you go to A minor, or you go to, if it's in D, then you go to E minor. But he would reverse the roles of, like, what was more common in diatonic music. He would go not to the relative minor. He would make it a major instead. And then he would just put other chords in that weren't even part of the key. And so what happened is we did this record called Teenager of the Year, and the songs I was learning that we were recording, he didn't have any, most of the songs, he didn't have any lyrics yet. And some didn't even have melodies. So we were recording this stuff that were essentially just chord progressions. But like I said, with these odd chords in them thrown in, and sometimes, bars of two, where most of the time people stick with 4/4, four to the beat, four to the bar. But he would play with that, with beaters and with chords. And then he would sing things over them that made them sensible, because they don't seem that sensible until you hear what the lyric is doing. I mean, if you listen to Burt Bacharach, for example, there's a lot of bars of two and 4/4 music, because it's just following the lyric and the cadence of the vocal. So I liked his music, and then I also had a lot of leeway to create my own parts, and there were lots of solos, and it was there was a lot of room for me to do my own thing within his music, and I just loved it.
And it was a kind of a challenge to figure out how to do your thing to fit in with that.
I wouldn't say it was a challenge. It was just a format that allowed me to sort of do my thing freely. And that was Teenager of the Year. So that's number 2.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, number 3. Shoot, it's going to be difficult. I would probably have to say Todd Rundgren's Nearly Human.
Why is that?
That was I skipped ahead. That was prior to both of those records, actually. So I'm all out of whack with my order.
No, that's cool. What was?
It's the same kind of thing. Just playing music I loved with someone I loved. Kind of doing my thing within the context of his music.
Did you studied music? Obviously, where did you study?
Well, I really I went to a community college in the Bay Area. I didn't have the grades to go to a proper school. And just, so I studied. I took 2 years of theory, and it was a jazz improv class. So it was theory, it was composition, and I learned, I learned a lot of stuff that I already knew how to play. I just now I had words for it.
Yeah,
I had the terminology.
How'd you get into doing soundtracks? And also, like, I don't know if this question makes sense, but why would someone want an original soundtrack versus using existing songs that they already want? Like, you look at music like a soundtrack like Goodfellas, or a movie. I don't know if you ever saw this movie, Dead President's Men. It's I always think of it when I play Superbad, because it's the same funk music, but it's like Isaac Hayes, it's other songs. It's Isaac Hayes, the Isley Brothers, stuff like that. What's his name with the glasses? Great guitar player. Having such a brain fart, had a stroke.
Well, not Pat Martino.
No, a black guy. God, I'm having such a made tons of records.
Curtis Mayfield, though.
Yes, Curtis Mayfield. Didn't he have a stroke?
Well, he had a lighting rig fall down on him.
Oh, I thought he had a stroke in his later years.
Well, I think after that, but
right, yeah. But that that's so that kind of music. Why does somebody want an original soundtrack as opposed to putting that in using existing songs?
Well, part of it's economical. Song licensing is very expensive, especially if you're looking at popular songs. I mean, a popular song will cost $200,000-$400,000.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So do the math. That's just one song.
Oh my God! So like in Goodfellas when they played,
tons of money was spent.
Because they had like Layla. Holy.
Millions of dollars were spent on a movie like that, and
wow.
They don't have the budget for that, or they just won't do it. And then also, songs don't cover everything. Sometimes you need things without lyrics.
Right.
You need stuff that services the story and the characters, and needs to blend, and it needs to hit things, and that's what score does.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino, I think he's one guy also that uses mostly songs.
Yeah, right. He does. And he great soundtracks, but he uses songs. Yeah, very much so. So this is a long-winded question, and I'm genuine in it, not blowing smoke up your ass. You're like an incredibly gifted composer, and I think your ability to see like a big picture is really amazing as far as like how you put individual tracks, and then like on Superbad, the whole, it's not individual tracks. It's, you painted a whole picture, and, you had to put all those jigsaw puzzle pieces together, and each one of them in and of its own had to be pretty freaking special to begin with. So with all the moving parts that you have going on, and then the details within all the moving parts, again, I don't know if this is this might be a silly question. How much of this is like a gift, and how much of this like is stuff that you intentionally tried to learn, and not to take away any of the, if it's a gift, I'm not implying at all that there was no work associated with it, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there's part art and part science to this.
Well, first of all, thank you for that incredible compliment.
You're welcome.
I think you have to have a feel for it. You have to have some ability, a bit of natural ability, but that's the small part of it. That's the lower percentage. The bigger percentage is the work, is the amount of effort and time you take to learn things, to listen to things, to grasp things by studying what other people do, listening to soundtracks, watching, seeing how stuff is functioning in a scene. I've always been a big movie buff, and always listened to what the music was doing. So, and it's like jumping into the biggest ocean. There's so much to learn, and I still very much feel like a beginner at it. Even after all this time doing it. But it's the hard work, really. That's the biggest thing. But you have to have a feel for it. You have to be able to know, or have the sort of an innate ability to turn emotion into music.
But it's one thing to turn your own emotion into music. You're in a sense turning like a scene.
Yeah.
That's tough, man.
Someone else's emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough enough to do your own, but shit, you're like, you're getting someone, you've got to take what someone else is doing and then crank up an audience, a third party. There's a lot of shit going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's creating a conversation, an expression with music, and providing a commentary, a musical commentary. And there's a part of that is hard to teach, knowing what to do to convey a certain feeling. But again, the hard work and more practice at it, you get better and better at it. You polish that antenna, so to speak.
What was the first soundtrack you did? How did you get into this in the first place?
Well, the very first things I did to picture were commercials. Another kind of word of mouth thing led me to a jingle house that did, all kinds of different commercials, Nike, Reebok, whatever. And they brought me on first just to play on them. And then I'd had success with, they were familiar with my work with Bourgeois Tag. We had, myself and one of the central singers of Bourgeois Tag wrote a song together that was a hit single that, we were on the Johnny Carson show, with Johnny Carson's Night Show. We did Top of the Pops. We did, American Bandstand and their equivalents in Europe because we had a single
with Bourgeois Tag.
With Bourgeois Tag, yeah.
Okay.
So again, the same old story. People hear what you do and they like it and they want you involved. And so that was the case with this jingle house. And then they said, "Well, you write music. Why don't you try your hand in some of these spots we've got awarded to us?" And so that was my first time to picture. And then shortly after that, I ended up doing a independent movie with a guy I met whose record I participated in. And he was a great, was a great multi-instrumentalist and songwriter. And he brought me in to help him to co-compose a movie together. And it was a movie called Made. It was a Jon Favreau film, actually.
That's cool.
God's first films. So that was my first movie.
So I want to point out a couple of things to the listeners. I'll tell a story. Many years ago, I think my wife was ill. And I was in the hospital visiting her, and there was another guy there, and I think his wife was ill. And we got to talking, and he was telling me about he went on a ski trip, and he climbed up. And I'm not a skier, but there's different levels of mountains and stuff. And he said he got up there, the elevator, and there's a guard or a supervisor there. And he was at the middle mountain, and he looked up and he goes, "How the hell do you do that?" And the guard said to him, he goes, "You don't start there." And he was like, "Oh, okay."
That's exactly right, man. That's dead on.
Yeah. And so I think, and I've seen this in business. I've been an entrepreneur 20 years, and I've been in a lot of projects, and I've gone through this myself where how the hell you do that? Someone's looking at, someone listening to this is looking at your career and what you've done. Well, newsflash, Superbad wasn't your first one. Wasn't your first, you didn't get invited to do Superbad out of the starting gate. You started with jingles, Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to point that out because I think that's a really important lesson. Just in general, people tend to think, "Oh, I can't do this." Well, neither did the guy who did it.
Yeah.
You don't start there, man. Like that guy in the hospital told me,
Yeah. I started having some recording gear in a bedroom.
Yeah. Right.
Or in the living room. That's where that started.
Right.
And just building and building and building and learning and listening and growing as a musician and as a human being. That helps too.
Yeah. And after you did the Favreau, so I imagine that soundtrack was well received for Made.
It kind of came and went. It was a small movie. There was a sound. I think they put out a soundtrack CD, but there was only a few of our cues on it. There was some songs that were on it. The next big step was working for another composer who, on his soundtracks, as a session guitarist, and he called me and said, "Hey, there's a music executive at Universal that wants some guitar on some of his personal music." And so I end up with this vice president of music in my studio doing this, basically doing a favor. And as he left, I said, "Hey, here's a CD of stuff. I've done one movie and I've done some jingles, and here's some instrumental music I wrote. Just, here it is."
Yeah.
And he called me back and he liked what he heard. And I ended up doing, he asked if I'd be interested in doing some additional music for a Will Ferrell film. And that was a movie called Kicking and Screaming, just some couple scenes that they were wanting, maybe more of a rock guitar kind of vibe thing. And so I did that. And then one of the producers was Judd Apatow. And then shortly after that, Judd signed a deal with Universal to do his own movies. And the Universal music executive who he had signed to Universal said, "Well, what about Lyle Workman?" And he said, "Well, let's see what he can do." And they gave me a couple scenes as an audition, and I couldn't believe it. I got the gig.
What movie was that? What was the first movie? 40-year-old version. Wow, what a good story, man.
Yeah. So that movie came out. It was #1 for 2 weeks in a row. So my first major movie was that, and followed by Superbad, another Judd, which was also 2 weeks at #1. So that basically kickstarted my career in film composing in a huge way.
Man, that is so cool. And so I want to also point out something else. I have not met a musician. I've run a marketing company 20 years. I love selling. I really enjoy it. And I do it in a way, and I'm not like an asshole about it, but you soldiers, and 99.9% of all musicians are allergic to it. But you gave that guy your CD, and if you hadn't have done that, you and I probably would not be having this conversation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So promoting yourself is not an evil thing. It's a smart thing, Yeah.
You just have to do it with humility and.
Right. But that was, hey man, here's my CD. If you get a chance, take a listen to it. You might like it. Like, it wasn't like, man, you got to listen to this shit because you've never heard anything like it. Right. It was totally like, here, maybe you'd enjoy this.
One thing I learned when I came the first time coming to Los Angeles to live is I met up with Tim Pierce, the great studio musician, guitarist, and just the sweetest guy on the planet. And he said one thing to me that really stuck. And he said, Lyle, there's a lot of guys here in town that can do what I do. He goes, you just got to be the nicer guy. And it really made an impression on me because, a lot of stuff that you do in sessions is, it's popular music. It's the same kind of song over again. There's a lot of times the same chord progression, and people want what they've heard before. And, but if you're a good person, and certainly in the case of Tim, he's genuinely a great person. And, people sort of know me as being kind of a good person and, easy to work with. And that goes a long ways. People want to have fun while they're working with you.
Yeah.
So you have to do it right. You can't be cocky or, you have to have some humility and, that kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
I think it's that way in any business, right?
Yeah. You can't be a dick. I mean, right. Nowadays, especially because there's so much competition. It's all over. And, sure. If you are a dick, it really gets out really easy.
Yeah.
So, but that's great. You handed the guy your CD, said, hey, here's some stuff I did take, we might like it. I mean, like, how could anybody find that offensive?
Right. Exactly.
You know, no, I thought that was great. And you made an entire like new career as a result, and probably changed your life, you know, emotionally, financially, and your family's life because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Good for you, man.
It's kind of funny the way that you put it. I've never really thought of it. I think of it as my contact to this gentleman, Harry Garfield, who was the vice president at Universal. But you're right. It's me handing them a CD.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought the fact that it was that motion, that here it is, handing over that CD to him.
Right.
You know, the fact that the night before I put it together, and then, what should I put this on there? Should I not put this on there? It was all that.
Yeah. I always look to figure out what those things are, because I never know when I might need, like, to hand someone not to hand someone a CD, but
right.
That would be disastrous. But, you know, to do something similar, you know, analogous in whatever I'm doing, you know, and I'm always trying to, you know, how did the dot, you know, you can't connect the dots moving forward, you know, but you can definitely connect them looking after the fact. And so that's always interesting to me, what do they call that? You know, those, you know, when the ball drops and it hits the stick and it bangs a rubber band, you know what I'm talking about?
What's his name?
Yeah.
The guy that did those big mazes.
Yeah. There's a whole name for it, but what is that?
There's a bunch of people listening to the podcast screaming at us right now.
But yeah, so, you know, but I think that's the way it works, like psychologically with things that you do. And I'm always fascinated by that, because it's like people change their lives doing stuff like that, or not doing stuff like that.
Well, you know, that's exactly right. Because then I can pinpoint one guy where everything, the family tree kind of doing a session with this one guy. He introduced me to this person, and that guy gave me this work, and then that person, someone else heard that work and hired me because of that work. But it always comes down to like one single event. Like, it's like the Big Bang of career.
Yeah. And it's like, that's how it works. And like, you know, how did you couldn't have designed to get to that guy. It had to be like serendipitous, you know, the universe had to sort of like orchestrate that and somehow, you know?
Yeah. You know, and also in the case of Judd's movies, I do, you know, I'm fully aware of the fact that the movies did so well and were so successful. And that was what propelled my career. I don't know what would have happened if those movies had not made a spark like they did. I might not have a career in as a composer. I really don't know. I can't say for sure, or it would have gone down this way.
But I would be willing to bet anything that Judd Apatow is sitting there saying one of the reasons this movie did so well is because of the soundtrack. Because that soundtrack propelled, that was like a fucking engine, like, you know, someone throwing coal in a train. That thing, you know, moved that entire. I remember sitting there watching it with my two sons, because it's such a guy, you know, movie. You know, my kids were teenagers, and we were just peeing in our pants. And my older son, he's 28 now, and we like the same kind of music. And we were like, holy shit, this soundtrack is like, this is amazing, man. So I would tell you, Apatow, the same way you say, hey, well, if Judd's movie, he's got to be part of it, saying, you know, that, yeah, I'm glad we had this soundtrack. It all came together. That helped. That was part of the vitamins that, you know, nourished this thing, man, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. That movie was very unique in that we did something a little bit out of the ordinary. When I first met with the director and with Judd, who was producing, there was already the notion that kind of funk, 70s funk, would loom large. I mean, it's called Superbad. Yeah. James Brown song. And so we knew that the songs, in Judd movies, there's a pretty healthy dose of song placement. Not tons of score, but a lot of songs, and it was all of that ilk, Parliament and that great kind of music. And I knew that the original score that I would write would have to coexist with that iconic music, and I didn't want it to sound like it was a second-rate funk band. It was really important. So I pitched the idea, like, do you think we could afford to hire these architects of funk to be, essentially the Superbad band? And I'm so thankful that Sony, said yes. And so I demoed the cues with local musicians in LA, and then hired Bootsy Collins.
Holy shit.
Bootsy Collins from James Brown and his own music, and then Bernie Worrell from Parliament.
Okay.
And then who else did we have? Oh, then the two James Brown drummers, Jabo Starks and Clyde Stubblefield. So I had James Brown, Parliament, / Parliament as my band. And then I played guitar, and then we had Jerry Hay, who's just the greatest, horn arranger and a legend. He's played with everybody, as my horn section. So really kind of hard to mess that up.
Well, you got the right tools to do the job.
Yeah. So we recorded for 4 days, I think it was, at Capitol. And that's how we did the score.
That's it. You laid that whole thing down in 4 days.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 days. Maybe it was 5. But we had to rehearse each cue like it was a song, because we were working with mostly non-readers. Bernie was the only one. Oh, I also had Jeff Babco too play some keyboards, and he's a local fantastic musician, keyboard player, who's also played on my instrumental music too. He's my musical brother down here. That's why that music sounds the way it does, is because of the musicians.
Did you have experience writing funky stuff before this?
Well, Bourgeois Tag was kind of a funk band.
Okay.
Our roots were in funk music. Where it was right there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I loved that stuff growing up, man. That was just another thing I loved. I loved too. I loved
awesome.
Curtis Mayfield. Come on, man. Marvin Gaye, on and on.
Yeah, man. I'm with you on that.
So I grew up kind of also in a predominantly Mexican and black environment.
Yeah.
And those were all my best friends. And so that was the music that they listened to and I listened to too,
Sure. Dude, I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah, okay.
So we're tracking. Hey, I want to ask you questions about specific songs there.
Yeah, sure.
Super what? And I don't know if you remember these. This is.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. Where did. That's Bootsy, I'm assuming.
That's Bootsy, yeah.
Fuck, man. The
director. The director said, "Hey, man, it would be great to get Bootsy just to do his kind of his talking, singing.
Yeah.
Do this." And he handed him some stuff. He handed him a piece of paper with some things to say on it. And Bootsy just delivered them in the way that no one else could. And we were loving it and laughing and just digging it.
It was, who did you write those? Like, where did the idea for the Bootsy voice in the beginning, like, where did that come from?
That must have been a conversation. That wasn't mine. That wasn't my idea at all. I think it was the director. It might have been the director and the music editor together. It was, hey, we should get Bootsy to sing, or just to improvise some lines over it.
And then as far as the album goes, because that's, I think, the first track. And how cool is it to open with that? It was just like, boom. It's like, welcome to the party. That was just so.
Oh, yeah.
Flashback party weekend. Now my question is freaking amazing drumming here. Who the hell is this? Now I understand.
Yeah, I think that's probably Clyde. I switched off between the drummers. because one of them was a little. He was a swung. He swung a little more than the other. That was kind of his thing.
One's behind the beat, one's ahead of the beat.
They played differently. I think that's probably Clyde Stubblefield on that one.
Incredible. Incredible drumming. And then like I had here, horns are fantastic. Now you told me that. How many horns?
I think it was 6 of them. Yeah, let me see. Trumpet says 5 or 6.
Did you write like individual horn parts?
I wrote most of the stuff, and then some of it I handed over to, anytime you work with someone like Jerry Hay, you take what you've done and you say, please make it, do whatever you want to it, make it better, enhance it. So he sweetened it. And there were a couple cues that I didn't do anything that he had, and I asked him to do a full-on arrangement for. He's the greatest, man. Just
incredible. How did you envision horns to even fit in those? Like, where does that come? That's what like fascinates me. Where does that come from? He said, okay, man, I think if we have horns here.
James Brown. I love the James Brown music.
Yeah. So you prepped a lot for that. You probably spent a lot of time listening to that.
All I had to do is remember what it was like to be a 12-year-old and listen to music. That was part of my diet.
Evan runs. There's a real like waka 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 really fast. Was that was you? I'm assuming
on the guitar.
Yeah,
that's all me on the guitar. Yeah,
that was great, man.
I specifically remember doing that track in the studio.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Was that like just a wah pedal you had? Because it sounded like it had a lot going on.
Strat, wah pedal, super reverb.
Wow. I mean, it was really, your right hand was jamming there, man. It was, it was great. And like I said, I had a comment, loads of textures here, reminds you of old James Brown stuff, which is, I love that stuff. Yeah. Again, Funk McLovin, drummer just push that thing like a freaking truck slamming into a little car, pushing him down the road, man.
Yeah. I think that's Jabbo on that one, if I recall correctly. Yeah, and some more bootsy, vocalisms.
Just incredible. Yeah, I said, who's the drummer, who's the voice? Really good, man. That was honestly, man. And again, I'm not just like blowing smoke up your ass. That is my all-time favorite soundtrack. I think it's just perfect music. It's so cool, and like that you did that from. It's really cool, and this is really weird. They talk about connecting dots. So I'm listening to that. When did that come out?
Oh, geez, 2006 is it?
2006. So it's 12 years ago. So now I'm chatting with you. I always like find that like wild, and we're discussing it. That's like so cool. Yeah. Not like from a star, like a fanboy. I'm just like, how cool is that? I'm just, that
period was a really amazing time for me because, during the score of 40-Year-Old Virgin, I got the gig to play with Sting, to do some to do some recording and do some playing. Right in the middle of it, I got asked to play at Live 8.
Wow.
Live 8.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing. It's a fundraiser at Hyde Park in London, and it was a huge show. And it was going to happen right towards the ending of the post-production schedule for 40-Year-Old Virgin. So I got the call to do it, and I had to go in and ask Judd. I know this is a crucial time, and we're finishing this movie in a couple of weeks, but I got this thing that came up, and he could have easily said, well, we're really kind of, because we were crunching to try to get things done. But he was like, yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. And I am so thankful that he said that he was okay with that, because I would have been just heartbroken if I couldn't have done that.
Sure. But a lot of it too is, your work, I would imagine you're meticulous. I mean, I don't know you beyond this, but you've got to be super meticulous. And, when you're working with people like that have that work ethic, it's like you want to, you've earned it, so people look for ways to like, I want to make that happen for you,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a big music fan. I wasn't asking him to go on a week and go away on a weekend to play at a bar mitzvah or a party. Not a bar mitzvah, but like a birthday party. It was like, well, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But it was a really crucial time. I think we had a screening coming up, and generally before an audience preview, you trying a bunch of different things and you're moving things around, and it's it's traditionally a time when you're working many hours throughout the day. So he was really cool.
Very cool. Judd, good man.
Yep.
Hey, let's talk about your solo record, the Harmonic Crusader. So I opened up the this conversation talking about it's literally the best or one of the top instrumental records I've ever heard. The same thing. It's extremely complex, but it's melodically very tangible for like a simple person like me, that doesn't, well, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like Frank Zappa, I respect and admire the music and I could listen to it, but I have a hard time with a lot of it because it's just beyond my, what I could process musically or what I, emotionally want to enjoy musically. The thing I liked about it was I was like, holy crap, this is like melodically beautiful. Yet it's complex and there's so much going on there, both in terms of layers of sound and in terms of the music itself. It's not like a blues 1-4-5 when we're done. So I had questions, a couple of songs there, questions. Behemoth's Ball is a song on there, and the lead guitar, it kind of sounded a little bit like you're playing slide at point, but I would like on the longer notes, but I really wasn't. Was that
not
just
on that track? Not on that one, but there's slide on several other ones.
How did you get the long?
The
long note. It was like very glisten. Like what I mean. Like, what was it? An effect or
Well, there's a lot of different guitar parts in that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We almost have to point to more like what is that right there?
Yeah, I totally get it.
I just a gained up Marshall and a Strat. I think that's what I was using for that. That song has Vinnie Colaiuta and Jimmy Johnson on it.
Okay. Then my question was, the drumming on this is crazy. Who is this?
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yep.
What were you looking to do on that track? Because it was almost like what's it good? Like, I don't know. It just kept growing. It was like one of those movies where you see like the colors expanding, and then just when you think it, then it's another explosion. It was just like so much shit going on. What were you trying to do there?
It's all subconscious. I never have any, and this applies to probably everything I do. Well, no, not the music, not the score stuff, because you've got parameters. But for my instrumental records, I don't have any set ideas of what something should be. So I basically, I'm at the keyboard or on my guitar, and I play something, a little germ of something, and I'll oh, that's kind of cool. And I'll start to outfit it with other instrumentation. And then, okay, well, where do I go now? Then I go to the next place. And then where do I go now? So I never have an idea. Like, I want to create. I'm not a whole picture kind of guy when it comes to my own music. I like to give myself the freedom to do anything that just happens, that comes up in a spontaneous fashion. Because I fully believe that the muse is way smarter than I am.
Right.
Where all that stuff comes from. I don't really know how I did it. It's the collection of everything I am and that I've listened to and that I like that makes its way into my music. And I just kind of take it bit by bit. So if it's A, B, C, whatever the format is, if G only come from just the stuff before it.
Yeah.
What it informs it, just where do I turn now? Where do I go here? Like, I don't know, let me try this. It's just very much just spontaneous and off the top of my head, and no big picture. I want to write a song that's like this, or a piece of music that does this. It's the one place where I have that freedom.
That being said, though, when your brain is expanding it, you don't, like you have like multiple layers that you're unrolling there. Yeah. It's not like, you know what I mean? And that's, sure. I think that's where like the difference comes.
I lay down a foundation, and in the case of my music, I'll work on a section, and then I'll put down a map of the whole track. I put okay, so yeah, I will come up with, let's say, like a simple, well, maybe not simple, but a chord progression or a riff or something like that. And I'll determine the tempo, get a click track just to have something to give it some sort of structure, and put that down and say, where do I go now? And I'll map the whole thing out with this one guitar part. Then I start to think like, well, what do I want the groove to be like? What do I want the bass to be? It's sort of the foundation of it, the meat and potatoes. And then I start to adorn it with other instrumentation.
Wow.
See how simple it is?
That's it, man. We got an info product. 3 steps to writing masterpiece music. Honestly, that was great.
It's a dumb way I put it that way, because it sounds like I'm describing some very simple music. But
I mean, to you, it's a
simple process.
Yeah,
it really,
it's a system.
Simple process.
Yeah,
yeah. Just it gets the complicated part is in the arranging, is in the outfitting the skeleton, so to speak.
At the end of that song, I just had a question. You had like dual guitar lines. Was that the same notes, and they were just off a hair of like timing wise, or was it, different notes?
Man, I'd have to hear the section you're talking about.
Okay,
there's so many things going on. I can't.
No, it's cool, man.
You could play snippets. I'd be able to tell you exactly.
You have another tune on there, Nothing Left Unsaid. That's a pretty serious title there. Was there like a backstory to that?
Well, I think that was the song had a certain feel to me. Had a certain melancholy / hopeful kind of sound to it. And I just remember having a conversation with, we've all had these conversations with people who've lost a parent or, brother or whatever. And often people say, I'm just glad I got to say everything I needed to say to that person before they passed. So that's how I came up with that title. Oh. It seemed fitting. It seemed like it fit with the emotional tone of the song.
That song was over 9 minutes long. Did you know it? Did you know this was going to be a long song when you did it, or that's just how it came out once you started?
Yes. Like I said before, I never know. Yeah. I start with something that's a 20-second snippet, and next thing I know, before you know it, one thing inspires another thing, and sometimes it's 3 minutes, sometimes it could be 9 minutes or 10 minutes long. If it's this music, my own music, it's like I said, it's the only place where I sort of do that. Yeah. I don't have the parameters when I'm working on other things. So,
what was the time signature there, man? That confused the shit out of me. I really tried to lock it down, and if you remember, I thought it might have been 12/8, but it wasn't.
Can you play it real quickly on your computer or something?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. This will be a first. You're breaking my my iTunes cherry here. Let me see if I can do this. Be gentle. Okay. Let's see it. Yeah, let's see if we can do that.
I'll try 2 at the same time. You've got the edit button, right?
Yeah. Let me see.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, let me go to the end of it. Oh, this is so awesome. I'm going to go towards the end where that double tracking guitar was.
It's actually just a 3/4.
Oh. Yeah, man, there you go.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, that was cool. Listen, everybody listening, please check out that record. It's called Harmonic Crusader. That song we just played a snippet of was Nothing Left Unsaid. Really a great album. Anybody that's a guitar player will sit there and do not smoke weed to it the first time, because I think no, there's so much going on there, man. It'll fuck you up. No, it'll fuck you up if you do that the first time.
One thing
you get lost.
I will tell you that. Thank you, man. I appreciate you listening so deeply to it. Probably the largest DNA in the music department for me would be the Beatles.
Okay.
So there's always a sense of melodicism that I've tried to put in my music. Melodies, interesting, chords with melodies. So there's that sort of pop sensibility that's just always there.
That's what it was, man. You just hit it. Pop sensibility. It's not a pop record.
No, but
it's accessible. It's tangible.
Yeah, a lot of the melodies you could sing them. You could just sing them.
Yeah, it was great.
And then there's some definitely lines that come up here and there that go far beyond that. But I'm just kind of a pop guy that likes other stuff.
Yeah, it was great.
And I was also very much influenced by those jazz fusion records of the early and late to late 70s, like Jeff Beck. Blow by Blow, Wired, There and Back. Those loop large,
just incredible. Those
the Mahavishnu Orchestra was a huge influence on me. John McLaughlin and Mahavishnu Orchestra, Dixie Dregs, really big influence, and then also progressive rock. Yes, Genesis, more so Genesis than Yes, but still,
Yes has got to be in there.
Yeah. So just a lot of melody. There's a lot of melodies, a lot of great movement. Some of it related to jazz, some of it related to classical. If you pick apart all those things I just mentioned. But also liking Albert King, and Django Reinhardt and funk music and Thomas Dolby and gosh, on and on.
Good stuff. You grew up in the Bay Area, you said. What was your childhood like?
Well, we lived in San Jose, meager living. My dad was different kinds of jobs. At one point, he was a diesel mechanic. But we didn't have money. It was tough. Sometimes we'd have to move from one place to another. And one point, we had to stay with my aunt because we needed, my dad was out of a job. So it was some of it was a pretty tough kind of environment.
You have brothers and sisters?
2 sisters.
Oh, wow. I say, oh, wow, because I never had girls. That's why when I had my daughter, it was like baptism by fire. I was like, fuck, I don't understand any of this shit going on. Yeah.
Did you say 1 girl and 2 boys?
Yeah, 2 boys, and then we had a girl. Yeah.
And the girl is the youngest, or?
Yeah, she's the youngest. And she was exponentially more difficult than both of the 2 exponentially combined. So it was it was just blew my mind. And I was like, wow. Did not know how to process. I had no sisters. I didn't know how to process any of this. And I'd be like, my wife's like, listen, this is okay. This is a girl's thing. I'm like, okay.
Is she the 18-year-old that you were mentioning?
She's 18. Okay. Yeah.
So is she in high school?
No, she just graduated. She's figuring out how she's going to, beat life up right now. She's going through that.
Yeah.
Stage. So
it's pretty common, man. I have many friends that have been through that. And, friends who have sent their boys to the camps, where you have to dig your own latrine. I don't know, some of those crazy stuff. Where they put you out in the wild with a Swiss Army knife. And,
you know what I find, man? If you just let life take its natural, I'm not a guy that says, oh, let me make your life easier for you. Yeah. And if, I'm here to support you emotionally, but if you need money for something at this age, man, you got to work. Right. So I find my experience with raising kids is if you allow life, the natural consequences, it just teaches them just like it teaches us, Yeah. So it's, I'm here to help if you want to talk.
Sure.
But,
sure. It's a different kind of time now because, our parents raised us different the way than a lot of our generation raised their kids. And, Sometimes it's not enough parenting, man.
No, it's not a lot at all. I find it's like, people throw money at kids. That's not really parenting, man. That's like, causes more
They want to be their best friends,
Oh yeah. That's a big mistake, man. You teach them how to be functioning human beings. I think anyway, this was my
deal, you get to prepare them for life, for what's it like once they don't have their own room anymore.
Yeah. Did you know early on, Lyle, that you wanted to play guitar for like a living, or did you consider doing something else? Oh, you did.
Yeah, I would say by the time I was 8th grade or freshman in high school, it was dead set.
Wow. How did you get turned on? Like, was anybody in your house musical?
No. Well, my dad. No. Let me start that over. My dad played guitar.
Oh, okay.
Worked, strum a guitar, and play cowboy songs. He was all about country and western. But back in that time, it was Hank Williams. So good western and Johnny Cash and the good stuff. And then my mom was completely on the other side. She was totally Elvis Presley and Fats Domino and rock and roll. So country western and rock and roll. But nobody in my family did it on a professional level at all.
But you got sucked into it, and it was just
I loved the Beatles. I wanted to play Beatles songs when I was little kid. I started playing maybe when I was in 4th grade or something.
Oh, that's young. That's like 9 or 10 years old. That's great.
Yeah, and so I just kept at it, and I just once I learned all the basic. My dad showed me the basic chords, about basic open chords. If I just drum on my guitar, you're a little 5th grader, and wow, that's the same chord. I can hear. I had a good ear.
Yeah.
So I was teaching myself all these Beatles songs. Some kid showed me bar chords. I said, okay, so that's how I get to those other chords that I can't get to, with a Beatles song. And really, everything is just started there and progressed to more complicated music and more sophisticated guitar playing. And then I think the next big step was hearing. I saw the movie Woodstock, and at that time, my level was a sort of Creedence Clearwater Revival solos, John Fogerty kind of solos.
Great stuff, man.
Good stuff, but nothing like Jimi Hendrix.
No.
So I saw that movie, and it was like 10 years after. I'm Going Home. Remember that track?
Oh, I love that. I'm a big Alvin Lee fan.
Yeah, me too. And so like, the guitar can do that? I had no idea. And then Hendrix, and then The Who, that made a big impression. Seeing all that stuff in one movie, then I got the record, and so then I had to, instead of learning Beatles songs, Creedence Clearwater songs, I had to learn I'm Going Home, and so that was the next big turning point. I'm like, okay, so you can really do some pretty amazing things with this guitar, and then it kind of went from that to remember that show? Was it In Concert? Or Don Kirshner's rock concert?
Yeah, I used to watch that. It was like every Saturday night, 11:30, or every other Saturday night, or something like that.
Yeah, I was still in high school, and I was staying up because I looked at the TV guide, and Johnny Winter was going to be on. I was a huge Johnny Winter fan. But it was Johnny Winter and Mahavishnu Orchestra.
That's pretty cool.
Mahavishnu, comes on, and there's this guy with short hair, for one thing, was weird, John McLaughlin. I go, well, look at this square, he's got this white gown on, kind of this, religious garb. And then he just proceeded to blow my mind with the music. So then I had to get that record and learn his records and their records and learn how to play that stuff. So there's all these steps, man, just hearing things and wanting to be able to play them.
Were there any maybe lower points during this whole period, and how'd you get through those? What were they, and how'd you get through those?
You mean like professional low points? Or
just low points in life or obstacles you had to deal with, challenges.
The passing of my mother when I was 23 was, terrible.
Sorry about that, man. Yeah.
Very tough. Oh, yeah. Thanks. That was difficult. My parents had a pretty argumentative kind of relationship, a love-hate kind of thing. So it was constant separations, and that was difficult to deal with as a kid. Not having much money, when I flew the nest, and I was working at a Wiener Schnitzel and living in an apartment with some dude, and it was kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And then just professionally later on, just having you'd have some really great thing happen and some cool gig, and then you'd have months that go by with nothing.
Yeah.
So, but I learned that the best thing to do with those times is just to work on your art. You've got time to practice, you've got time to write, you got time to play music. Playing music is free, that's a good part of it. And, so those times are really important.
Did you, as we talked, I think earlier, like it seemed like you got a nice thing going with your own relationship with your wife. Did that, watching that bullshit that you had to endure, like mom and dad, did that play in your mind as far as when you came time to like pick somebody? Like, was that a conscious thing for like, fuck, I don't know necessarily the right thing, but I know this is not an option I'm interested in.
Are you my therapist?
Oh, I am ill qualified to be anyone's therapist.
You're hitting the nail right on the head. Yeah. I didn't know what a healthy relationship was supposed to look like. So it really created problems for my own relationship with my wife early on.
Yeah.
But we just kept working at it, and she loved me enough to see it through, and we're in a great place.
Yeah.
But, definitely some bumps.
No, but I'm not. I had the same situation, so that's why I understood it. I had totally dysfunctional childhood. Parents was a train wreck, and this is my second marriage. In my first marriage, I basically married my wife. Married my mom, who was completely dysfunctional. The same behavior. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, this is. When I realized that, I was like, time to go. This is like the most unhealthy situation I could ever be in, and I am not doing this. And so, but the next time around, I was like, married the person I wanted to marry, the person I thought I wanted to marry, because I thought I needed these. I admired her characteristics, and I still admire and respect them today, 26 years later, So, so I was talking more from experience than anything else,
One thing I will say though, about my parents is that there was never any question that they loved the kids, and they loved us, and they supported us, and they wanted us to do well. And
that's great.
I didn't have that bad thing, where I couldn't talk to my parents, or I couldn't, the love was there. And so I feel fortunate that I did have that.
That's cool, man. Good.
Guys of our generation, dads weren't, they didn't talk about themselves, or, it was a little bit hard to get to know my dad, but he was always very proud of me, loved the fact that I played music and supported it 100%, both parents.
Were you the youngest?
Oldest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too. Interesting. Let's talk about gear for a few minutes. You mentioned Strats 2 or 3 times. Is that what's your go-to guitar, and what other 2 guitars would round out your top 3?
I have a 63 Strat.
Wow.
That I think I bought that when I was playing with Beck. So that was like 2000, I think, maybe 99. 2000, I bought that guitar. And I use that. That's a main instrument for me. But I'm also a big telly guy. I've got a couple tellies. I really like this. I have a 72 thin line that I like quite a bit. But I also have a 55. I enjoy a 52. Those are in the. I've got a lot of guitars. I don't know. Let's see. Let's have a little.
Oh, there you go. I see I see a Jazzmaster. Oh, there they go. Yeah, I see. Looks like a telly. It's a semi hollow body. Looks like. Yep. Oh, there you go. Now, you got basses.
On the right, is it to your right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basses, and then I've got some guitars up here. More boutique-y stuff, and then I've got guitars down here and a couple more basses, baritone. Can you see that?
Yeah, I sure do. You know, that I don't think that's like a very reasonable number of guitars for as many different projects as you're involved with, man.
You haven't seen half of it.
Oh.
It's all up here, down here. Then I've got more right here.
Yeah.
There's a Jazz Master.
That's a
and
nice,
Martin and his old Silvertone. And here we go. This is more.
Oh, there you
there's
go.
There's a 55 Telly. There's a Trini Lopez. There's my 72. 72 thin line, and then in the middle is a 55 gold top.
That's a nice guitar. I was just going to ask you about that, man. That's a 55. Wow.
Yeah, and there's a 60. These are both 60. No, it's a 63 Jaguar.
Yep.
And there's a 64 bass 6. Okay, so now we're going to go in the other room.
There you go.
My tracking room, my drums and my piano. And then there's guitars up here on the walls.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's my room, man. You got some old jazz box up there. It looks great.
Yeah, signed poster.
Oh, Steve Carell. Yeah, 40-year-old version. Very cool.
Yeah. And, so guitars up here. That orange Gretsch. Can you see that orange Gretsch?
Yeah, it's really pretty.
My dad gave that to me when I was in the 6th grade.
Wow. What a great guitar to get when you're like 11 or 12. That's really cool. Nice, man.
There's some custom Telly. There's a 69 Telly in the ed. And I've got guitars up here. And then I don't know if you see these cases.
Yeah. They each have guitars?
Yeah. There's a bunch of guitars over here.
Yeah, so you have a lot of guitars.
Yeah, and then here's my acoustic station where I do all my acoustic recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a boatload, man.
I got a computer over there that I can run my, a remote monitor, keyboard, and mouse, so I can control the computer from this room, drum set. So there you go.
Very cool, man.
I guess the listeners aren't going to get to see it, but whatever.
There's just a boatload of guitars there, and they're all, really, like, a pretty good assortment of everything, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, my taste varies so much, so you got to have the tools to make that kind of music if you want to sound legit.
Who's like your favorite guitar player, if there is such a thing?
Depends on the style, but for rock, Hendrix for sure.
Yeah.
Like miles above everybody else. But then it goes to people like John McLachlan and Django Reinhardt. She's one of my favorites of all time. It just kind of just depends.
Anybody?
I like so many guitar players, man. I'm just like, if you name a guy, I go, he's great. I'll probably say he's great. If you mention someone, I go, yeah, I love him.
You had mentioned Beck a couple of Jeff Beck a couple of times. He's of course. Awesome, man. Just
absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Especially, how does someone play better than they ever had when they're in their 60s?
I don't know.
He's played the way he plays now is like, wow.
Yeah. Well, he's in his 70s now. Got to be at least.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's in his 70s easily. Maybe 75, even 76.
Who plays better at 7 years old than they did when they were 30?
I don't know, but
I don't know, but it does.
You talk about that trilogy of records that you mentioned, Blow by Blow, Wired, and
There and Back.
Yeah, gosh, and everything that he's done is just so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and other stuff too later on is great.
Oh yeah, it's just
he's a freak of nature. But love Brian May. Love me my Brian May. I love Pete Townsend.
Oh, Townsend's great.
I think he's underrated as a guitar player.
As a writer.
Oh, not as a writer, but as a writer, he's fantastic. That's my favorite rock band would be The Who.
Yeah, he's just brilliant as a composer. Yeah. My God, the things he did and with the sequencing of like synthesizers, that was phenomenal.
That was the band I'm mostly related to. As
The Who?
Yeah, that's my favorite band. I love Led Zeppelin. Come on.
Yeah.
Page is the riff master. Yeah. No one writes better riffs than Jimmy Page.
Great, phenomenal.
But yeah, so I love all that stuff.
Hey, who have you name a couple of players you've enjoyed jamming with? Guitar players.
I just got a chance to jam with Steve Vai, and that was
the charity thing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'd never played with him before, and he's just such a great guy. And man, what can you say? He's such a deep musician too. His orchestral music and writing is phenomenal. We've just gotten to be friends fairly recently, actually. You asked me who I jammed with that was fun.
Yeah, that you enjoyed.
Adrian Belew. I just played with him last night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's another favorite. Another guy that just like, here's another way to approach the guitar.
Yeah.
And very influential too, Adrian.
I've actually got another guy from that era, Jerry Harrison, coming on the show from the Talking Heads.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's coming on. I'm looking forward to talking to him.
I think he's Bay Area. I know he was.
Yeah, but I knew them from New York City growing up in the 70s.
Oh yeah, sure. Talking Heads, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean that's that was their whole stomping ground.
Yep.
Talk about Desert Island Discs, man. What was your top 3? Just for today. Just for like now, not even for today. Like you could change tomorrow. Man.
Who's next? The Who?
Yeah, great. What a great album. Got to be one of the best album covers also of all time.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, man. That'd be so hard because there's a bunch of jazz records too and some classical stuff. Weather Report is huge. Heavy Weather, I think, is like the Abbey Road of jazz in a way.
This is a tough question, man. What do you like most about yourself?
Wow. I guess that I just genuinely care about people. That I care about people more than I care about myself, I think that's it.
How about the flip side? If there's something you could change about yourself, what would you want that to be?
I think other people believe in me more than I believe in myself. Not that I don't believe in myself, because I do believe in myself. I don't think I would have done the things I've done. But to the degree that other people believe in me, I don't quite have that. And it keeps me humble. And, I think that's a good place to be. But, I'll share this. I've been recently taking swimming lessons.
That's cool.
Yeah. I never learned properly how to swim as a kid. My parents never showed me, that was the era when kids just figured stuff out. You know what I mean? And we didn't have a pool. No one I knew had pools, so I never really learned. I learned how to sort of make my way in water.
Sure.
I would never feel comfortable in deep water, and jumping off a boat into the lake. I'd never do that.
Sure. And
I finally decided that, man, it's just something that I've always been a little bit ashamed and embarrassed about. It's nothing to be ashamed about, but
no, neither.
It's my own thing.
It's one of those things that you get stuck in your head as a kid, and it's just it's like a sore.
Yeah. Come in the water. Like, no, I'm fine. I'll stay over here where my feet can touch the ground. So I started taking lessons from this guy, this great teacher, and I finally learned how to do it. And the big thing was going to the deep end and swimming in the deep end. And he goes, "You're done, man. You've done it." Some 30 lessons later or whatever it was.
Great.
A good time with this guy. But, he said something to me, before that big launch into the deep water, he goes, let's talk for a little bit. And he said, is it possible that I might have more of awareness of your abilities than you do? And I'm telling you, this is, you got this, man. And I was nervous. I got to say, I was nervous about doing it. And he goes, man, you got this. You know how to do it. And then when he said, is it possible, would you consider the notion that other people believe in you in the ways that you might not believe in yourself? And just the way he said it to me was like, yeah, okay. Okay. So I think I have a little bit of that in the rest of my life, in terms of, I know there's a lot of things I can do, but I'm very well aware of what I can't do. And that's what drives me. And I really find that in all the best musicians I've met, you tell them, oh man, I can't, you're so this and this and this. And they're like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. So I'm kind of the same way. But you just have to be aware of your limitations, but not so much that they cripple you.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to wear them to the point where like, well, how do I get past that limitation? And that's what I did with the swimming. You know, I just like, you know, I just got, God, I can't be like this anymore. You know, it's like my son is a really great swimmer. It's like, come on, he's like swimming in the ocean, and I'm like, and I just said that was it for me. That's what was the turning point.
Good, man.
Like, you know, he's 15 and he wants to have fun with dad in the water, and if dad's afraid of the deep water, then I just couldn't have it, man. That was the straw on the camel's back.
Good for you, man. Yeah, you got to be aware of your limitations, not governed by them.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but also I know my observations, most smart people kind of know, they're aware how much they don't think they're small. You know, they're aware of like, fuck, you know, I got a lot more to learn, whether it's music, guitar, business, whatever. You know, they're aware of it's a big world out there and I'm okay, but I got a lot more to go. And I find people that are not as smart are the ones that kind of like think they know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's and I found the most humblest, nicest people moving down here with the musicians that I work with and have to work. I mean, and that was a big lesson. And that's it. That's how they look at it. It's like this, man, regardless of how much I know, it's just a sliver, man, of what's out there. So you gotta be good with that and be humble and yearn for growth.
And swimming's good now?
Crippled, you know, like I said, don't be crippled by what you can't do.
And swimming's good now? You enjoy it?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Who's had the biggest influence on your life, both musically and personally?
You know, I can't really pinpoint one person. It's an amalgam of many people that I've worked with, and just seeing how they dealt with life and career. You know, some of it is Todd Rundgren. Some of it's Beck. You know, not Jeff Beck, but the younger Beck. I spent 2 years working with him, and I really enjoyed it very much. You know, and just, you know, listening to people talk about their life and their career. I just watched that Quincy documentary, and that was really great. That had all kinds of gems of wisdom in it.
Is it on Netflix or is it on Amazon? Or
yeah,
I gotta check it out.
Check it out.
How about personally? Who's influenced you? Biggest influence on you?
It's kind of the same thing. You know, I don't have any like one or two big sources of that, but many along the way. You know. I mean, it'd be nice to say, "Oh, it was this guy." Or, do you have anyone like that in your life?
My wife has definitely had the biggest influence on me. Yeah.
Well, of course, I blew that question. I would have definitely said that safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like anytime I have I'm struggling with something, she just has a way of looking at it that helps me get through things, you know, and put things in perspective. Yeah. So I would definitely change my answer to say that. Yeah. That she has been the biggest influence on me, and just her kindness and putting things in perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, mine is like inspired me to be a better, like just to get my shit together and to, you know, I've really had a bad childhood and upbringing. So I've really had to do a lot of work to sort of like unprogram or, you know, wash that and reprogram sort of, you know, everything from like talking to people to like literally almost everything. And I think much of my motivation to do that was to be to be someone that she deserves, to, you know, to meet up to her level of what she gave me sort of.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done that without her. Yeah. I am very glad. I don't know. My life would have been totally different without her for sure. Yeah. With great segue into the next question, man. Has your life been different than what you'd imagined?
Oh yeah. I had no idea this composing thing. I moved here 22 years ago to be a session musician, to play on records, to tour. That was it. Maybe write with people, write songs. So this was a complete detour out of the blue.
That's awesome. Best money you ever spent on something? Doesn't have to be music, could be anything.
Best money ever spent on something. Oh gosh. Man, I wish I had some great answer like this book that profoundly changed my life. Well, I think about some of the gear that I have. I mean, it's the Strat I bought. I love. I've used it so much and made a lot of music with it.
The 62?
Yeah, the 63.
Yeah. The 63.
Yeah, Thin Line 2. I use that a lot. I've got a 59 335. It's also just unbelievable. Wow. But I wish I had a better answer, a more profound, humanistic answer.
I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of I think everybody wants that answer. I don't know that it's reality. That's like TV stuff sometimes, like life and TV sort of like are not kind of, parallel. Yeah. I think we're all just like slugging away and just learning. I think you said early on, like 1% at a time. It's never like the guy gives you the golden egg with, oh, here you go. And then I worshiped and I listened to that and my life was forever different. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Overnight sensations.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a late bloomer in a lot of things in life, sort of figuring things out. And
me too. I'm with you. 3 more questions, man, and I can't thank you enough. Any hobbies or interests outside of music, Lyle?
Swimming. Let's see. Man, I it's kind of all about music. I mean, I like movies. I like, I don't get to read at all, which is kind of a bummer because I don't have any time.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but I like some sports. I like to watch boxing. I like basketball,
Are you like a Laker fan?
Golden State Warriors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm happy about LeBron James.
Are you?
Come join us. Yeah, I'm really happy about that. I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big sports guy, but my son actually has gotten us, both my wife and I, into it because he loves it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see. What else do I like to do?
Collect guitars.
For a while, I was really big into yoga, and it kind of fell off the wagon on that. But
dude, can you live in LA and not be big into yoga at one point in time?
Is that
I don't know. I'm such an East Coast guy. That's just like my wacky perception of things.
Or just eating bowls of sun-dried tomatoes and doing yoga in the sun. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's like I'm friends with a couple of guys on Instagram, and they're out and they live out there, and every day they post me his yoga poses. I'm like, fuck it. I try to like not stereotype, but like,
oh yeah, I can see that. That Saturday Night Live sketch, the Californians. Did you ever see that?
Maybe. If it was old Saturday Night Live, I did.
No, it's maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, I guess.
No, but it was a whole.
It's like a soap opera about Californians. Californians, and we often talk about traffic because there's so much of it and how we get from one place to the other. So the whole thing is kind of this thing about traffic, highways they took, and it's so funny.
I have to watch it. I just wrote it down.
Comedy is a hobby. I love comedy. I love movies. I love comedians. So it really worked out that I'm doing this composing, working
for Apatow.
Yeah, definitely.
He's got some great movies, man.
Yeah.
2 more questions. This is a tough question, man. Toughest decision you've ever had to make, or most difficult thing you ever had to do?
I'm trying to think of the most difficult one. I mean, it certainly has some difficult ones. Breakups are always kind of bad, or sometimes, in my business, I have to hire people to work for me, and that doesn't work out, and I've got to let someone go. But I'm trying to think of something monumental. Man. I don't think I have anything in that territory, man. That's so sensational enough to talk about.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, that's a good. Yeah. That's good.
Pretty unscathed, pretty well.
And last question, man. What's been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years? And how much of that change has been deliberate and intentional on your part? And how much is just a natural progression of aging?
Well, don't sweat the small stuff, but also recognize what is the small stuff. Making mountains out of molehills is, I think people fall into that trap. We all do, from time to time. In my business of scoring, there's a good deal of stress. Sometimes I work with people that are not musical. They don't understand music, or they don't understand what it takes to put things together. There's frustrations in that area, but just learning that some things aren't big deals.
That's great.
And not being affected by things that are seemingly big that aren't big. Putting things in perspective, not taking something so seriously, and be more in the mode of gratitude.
Has that been more something like you've worked on your own, or just naturally happened? Yeah, that's cool. That's really
I've had
cool.
to work on that. I've had to work on it quite a bit. Just
doesn't that feel good though? Like when you have because that shit's not easy to work on. It's not like you read like we're talking. It's not like you read the book and like, oh, I got it.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of practice it. Because you're forced in it, and I think it's easier to see it with I could see it more with my wife, and she could see it more with me.
Yeah.
It's hard to see it in yourself sometimes. Like you're getting really upset about something, and I've just learned to see a lot more of what's happening as champagne problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The first world problems, right? As they call it.
I can't believe that they're making me do this Q 15 times and it's due in next week. It's like, I'm in this position to where I get to have this problem,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to be grateful for that. And there's a lot of people that would gladly trade their life to have 18 times as much problems as I do to be able to do what I do. So and that really, living in more of that sense of gratitude just makes you enjoy life so much more.
Less stress too, man.
That's exactly right, because that really will get you. We've all been stressed to the point where we get sick.
Yeah.
Any degree of sickness, and yeah. And I think so. I do think it's a part of aging that helps facilitate that.
Sure. Dude, I cannot thank you enough, man. I have the utmost respect for you talent-wise, man. I really mean that. And I really hope when you put out your next record, you come on the show and we'll promote it and talk about it and get to showcase it here, man. Thank you very much, sincerely.
Thank you for it's been a great talk with you. Thanks. It's got personal there. That's to go that way.
Hey, everybody, if you do not, man, just listen to me. Do two things. Go buy Harmonic Crusader by Lyle Workman. And if you're a guitar player, you got to listen to that, man. And if you haven't checked out the soundtrack to Superbad, sit down, listen to it, but don't listen to it in the car. Listen to it when you're chilling out, when you could think, and it's just really cool. And that's the first time. Then the second time, take it to the gym because you get through your workout better. And you will, man. I listen to that shit all the time in the gym.
All right on.
Man, thank you. And I hope to see you again. You're welcome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Support Lyle Workman and check out his music. And, go watch all the Judd Apatow movies. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this interview, share it with a friend on your social media channels. We really appreciate your support. Thanks again to Lyle Workman for spending time with us. I really do appreciate it. Go to the homepage of everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.